Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me for our practice today. As we find our way to a nice seated position, lengthening through the crown of the head, feeling longer through the spine as we inhale, breathing into the belly, into the ribs, into the chest, and exhale. If it becomes a little bit easier to focus, let's take one hand to the belly and one hand to the chest. And as we inhale, we try to push both hands out, equally filling forward and backward into our lower back, into our upper back. Expand all the way up to the top of the torso. And then exhaling, slowly releasing. Beautiful. Gratitude starts here with ourselves. So as we take this moment to be in the present moment, connecting to the rhythm of the breath, letting go of the last few minutes, the last few days, just finding space for ourselves here, right now. The inhalation and the exhalation. Imagining that we're clearing the cobwebs of the mind, the thoughts. They can be like beautiful white clouds that are crossing a blue sky. And with our breath here as we breathe, it's like a gentle breeze clearing away those beautiful, fluffy clouds to a clearer sky in our mind. One more nice deep breath, just like this. Feeling it through the belly, through the ribs, through the chest, into the lower back, the upper back. Deepen, deepen, deepen. And slowly exhale, releasing our hands if we had them on our bodies. We'll do another pranayama. So we'll do our alternating nostril breath, so Nadi Shodhana, just to balance and harmonize the right and left side of the body. If we're not familiar with this, you can just follow along. If you're familiar, you can start, but I'll come up just a little bit closer so you can see this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our pointer finger and our middle finger to our brow center. We're gonna close off the right nostril and we inhale through the left. Then we close off the left nostril and exhale through the right. We'll do that a few times. As we're ready, inhaling through the left, slowly and at ease, closing off the left gently with the pinky or the ring finger, opening the right and exhaling through the right. And slow and ease. Now see, if we have any issues with allergies or deviated septums, no worry, we just go back to our regular breath, inhaling through the right when we're comfortable, closing off the right gently with our thumb, opening the left and exhaling. Let's inhale again through the left when we're ready. Closing off the left at the top of the inhale and opening the right nostril and exhaling. Inhaling when we feel complete with the exhalation through the right nostril. Closing the right nostril when we feel we're ready for exhaling through the left, we can begin. Last round here. Inhaling through the left, slow and easily. The top of the inhalation, we close the left, open the right, and exhaling. Inhaling through the right, without rush or hurry at our own pace. Closing off the right when we're ready, opening the left, and easily exhaling. We can release the hands when we're ready. And just becoming even more present or checking in, tuning in. How does the body feel? How does the mind feel in this moment? And maybe there's something that is resistance that's rising up. Acknowledging that resistance within our body or our mind or our heart space. thanking it for its awareness, and then finding a focal point of something within our body space, our mind, our heart space that feels good. Some days it's easier than others, so maybe it's our pinky toe that feels good today. Or maybe it's just witnessing and observing that breath. Returning back to that 3-part breath as we inhale, belly expands, ribs widen, chest lifts. And then exhaling, reversing that process, chest, ribs, then belly. Seeing if we can find our own length in the inhalation and exhalation. And then thinking back to a moment that we were grateful for. Maybe in the last few days we have observed some gratitude or some witnessing of something we'd be grateful for. Let's bring that into our mind, into our heart. Let that feeling radiate. Remembering that gratitude is a practice. It's not something that just happens necessarily. It's not just for big events. It's something we can cultivate by focusing our attention. Last breath here. And we can open our eyes if we had them closed. Here, let's take our hands overhead, reach them up toward the sky. Exhaling, hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra, the ultimate mudra of gratitude. Let's inhale, reach it up. With our breath of alternating nostril breath, we were connecting our left and right sides of the body, bringing it in union. Here, we're meeting our right and left with our hands, our palms. Last one, inhaling, bringing it up. And exhaling, hands to heart center, a gentle tuck of the chin toward the chest or toward those fingers. Noticing how those fingers are pointing up toward ourselves and up to the ether, to our connection. Here we're connecting to our deeper inner self, the true self. Finding gratitude for this. As we release our hands, one hand to the earth, one hand toward the sky, reach it up, side lateral flexion. As we open and then inhale, take hands overhead to the other side. Exhale, find some movement that feels good. Let me, with my voice, just be the guide today. Ultimately, you get to choose what feels best within the body space. We can add creativity. Now, if we're taking care of our shoulders, we can always drop our elbow a little. Adjusting the practice that feels best to us. Might be still warming up through the side body. Move with our breath, breathe and move. Last one on each side or so. And then we'll turn this into an upright twist. So as we inhale, taking it up overhead, a gentle release into a twist, one hand to the thigh, one hand to the earth or to a block behind us as we gaze toward the side. Inhaling, hands reaching overhead, exhaling to the other side. Moving at our own pace, inhaling and moving, exhaling. For taking care of any body parts today, or even a mental space, let's give ourselves space around that. We might find that during our yoga practice, some of that evolves and changes. So we let go of judgments and expectations. Last one on the other side, just evening out our own practice. Inhaling, taking hands overhead, a forward fold here, hinging from our hips. We lean forward wherever that feels good to us. Lengthen through the long part of our spine, crown of the head, reaching to the skies. We tilt forward from our hips. Another breath here. Imagine loving ourselves the way we want others to love us here. Just thinking about gratitude starts with ourselves. Let's walk those hands back in. Inhaling, hands reaching overhead. Exhaling, hands by our hips. And then lifting the chest, just a little chest expansion toward the sky. As we release, we're going to switch whichever leg was in front. So just crisscross applesauce the other direction. Inhaling, hands reaching overhead. Exhaling, forward folding here. Leaning forward, hinging forward. We might notice it more in one hip, down the back, feeling it in the opposite knee. Being gentle and kind to ourselves. Relaxing shoulders. Inhaling, lengthening arms overhead. Exhaling, hands by our sides. We can stay with that chest expansion, or if we'd like to add on a little bit, we tilt the hips up, so rolling forward with a lift of the hips. Slowly releasing. Now, if we had a pillow or a cushion, we'll take that to the side. We'll find our way to all fours again. So finding our way to all fours with our knees hip width distance, our hands underneath our shoulders. We can always do a palm or a fist if we'd like, straightening, lengthening through the arms. Starting to finally get a little warmer in here. It's chilly today. We'll make our way into a few cat and cow, so rounding the back toward the sky, tucking the chin toward the chest, and then moving toward the opposite direction. So taking our time, flowing and breathing. Rounding the back toward the sky, and then switching to the opposite. Softening through the face, noticing if we're holding tension around the jaw or if we're clenching our teeth. Maybe we find our teeth slightly parted. If we'd like to find a little more organic movement, maybe we move the hips, side to side crunch, rolling as we'd like. Or we can stay with the cat and the cow, honoring our body. Honoring it feels best. If we're finding some organic movement, maybe we change to the opposite direction. Gratitude is a powerful catalyst for happiness. It's a spark that lights the fire of joy in the soul. A beautiful quote from Amy Collette. I'll read that again. Gratitude is a powerful catalyst for happiness. It is the spark that lights the fire of joy in our soul. Let's go ahead and start to press our feet into the earth, lifting the tailbone toward the sky, downward facing dog, alternating heel presses here. So pressing into one heel and then bending the opposite knee. So let's just go ahead and take that dog for a walk here. Holding here into our alternating presses. Then finding those heels toward the earth. They don't have to be melted onto the earth, just finding some length from the wrist to the hips. Letting those heels drop. Feeling some awakening, some warmth within the body. Pressing actively through the four corners of the palms into the length of those fingers. We'll start to gaze at those fingers. And then walking forward slowly with our feet toward our hands. Into a forward fold, we bend those knees. Inhale, rise it to the sky. Exhaling, hands at heart center here. Anjali Mudra, that mudra of gratitude or feeling that oneness within. Releasing into mountain pose, hands by our sides. With our feet hip width distance apart, let's rock back and forth a few times. Hips going forward and back. Finding that evenness across the toes, across the ball of the feet. Palms are reaching forward so that the shoulders can kind of reach back and opening the chest. And then settling into those feet. Finding our ability to be strong and sturdy in each and every moment. A little micro bend into those knees to take it out of the lower back. We can come here at any time in our mountain pose. Let's inhale, take the hands overhead, exhaling into a chair. As we sink down, bending those knees. We'll do this a few times. Inhale, reaching it on up. And exhaling. Warming the body with each breath. We can take this a little faster, a little slower. Hands can always be on the thighs if that's more comforting. As we sit back looking for that missing chair. Last two or so, take our time. Last one. We're gonna sit here and hold into our missing chair behind us. Core active and lifted. We're gonna lift one heel and let it go back down. Switching to the other side, lift it up and back down. We'll take that a few more times. Nice stretch for those feet, the fascia across the feet, warming up those legs. We want to increase the body temperature just a little bit, getting us ready and prepared for our yoga practice. Go ahead, last one on each side or so. Sinking into those heels, inhale, rise it on up. Exhaling to a forward fold, hinging from our hips. We can bend the knees as much as we'd like. Now to reverse that swan dive, you're engaging the outer glutes. You can always put your hands on the outer glutes. Inhale, rise it back up. Exhaling into chair. Let's do that a few times. Inhale, press through those legs. Exhale, forward folding. Inhale, reaching back up toward the sky. And into chair. Good, last one. Finding gratitude for this glorious day. Inhale, rising it back up. Exhaling, hands at heart center. Inhale, lifting up. Forward fold, we'll do a few sun salutations with options here. Forward folding, right leg steps back to a kneeling lunge and curling the back toes. With the front knee over the front ankle, we can stay here for a moment. Or we can take the hands overhead, reaching skyward. Stretch the front body, exhaling, pressing back into child's pose. With hands extended forward, we inhale, lift forward to a kneeling plank, shift the ribs, the shoulders just past the wrists, and exhale, slowly lower down. Inhale, a gentle cobra. As snakes don't have arms, a little pressure into those hands. Exhaling, releasing down. Use the core to lift us and press us back to child's pose. Right leg steps through and forward into that kneeling lunge. We can always grab that ankle and hold it here. Options to stay here. We're taking hands overhead, inhaling, lifting skyward. Maybe a little smile appears on the face. Exhaling, let's step it forward, forward fold. Rising, using those glutes, exhaling into our chair. Let's do that again. You've got lots of options. We can do my variation or add on. Forward fold. Left leg steps back into that kneeling lunge. Uncurling the back toes, staying here, or hands reaching overhead, or cactus arms is always nice to open up and broaden through the chest. Exhaling, pressing it back. Inhale, coming on forward. And exhaling, lowering. Let's lift the chest. And slowly release. Use the core, belly button lifts first. Left leg steps through and forward into our kneeling lunge. You can always stay here or lifting the hands overhead. Cactus arms is an option. And then releasing. Let's step it forward, forward fold. Inhale, rise it to the sky. Exhaling into our chair. Inhaling, reaching up. So we can add on again if we'd like or stay with that variation. Forward fold. Right leg steps back. So this time we can do a lifted lunge if we'd like. The back knee can be off the earth, or we can drop to the back knee on the ground. Staying here or taking our hands overhead. Reaching toward the sky. Exhaling. Downward facing dog or child's pose. The choice is ours. Inhaling, lifting forward to our plank. We can be kneeling or full. Exhale, lower. Upward facing dog or cobra. Upward facing dog, a micro bend into our elbows, pulling the chest through. Exhaling, back to downward facing dog or child's pose. Right leg steps through and forward. Staying here in that lunge, could be kneeling or lifted. And then option to take our hands overhead into our crescent lunge. Exhaling, step it forward, forward fold. And inhale, rise it back up. Chair as we exhale. Good, last round. Inhale, taking it up overhead. Exhaling, forward fold. Left leg steps back. We can do a kneeling or lifted lunge. The choice is ours. Inhaling, taking hands overhead is an option, or keeping hands on earth. Exhaling, down dog or child's pose. The choice is ours. Reaching forward, we inhale, lift forward to a kneeling or full plank. Exhale, slowly lowering down. Let's lift the chest off the earth. Or finding a full up facing dog. Exhaling, down dog or child's pose. Left leg steps through and forward into our lunge of choice, kneeling or lifted. Option to take the hands up, cactus arm. Exhaling, stepping forward, forward fold. Inhale, rise it to the sky. Exhaling into our chair. Let's find chair a few times. Inhale, reaching up, exhaling, hands to heart center. Remember, we can have hands on thighs if we'd like. Sinking to what's comfortable for us. Last one here. As we hold here, it's a gentle twist. So hands go to one side. Doesn't matter which side, we'll do both. Just gazing toward the side. And then inhaling back to neutral, to the other side. Coming back to neutral. Inhale, rising overhead. And exhaling into mountain. Here we'll step back with our right foot into our warrior one. So with our warrior one, we'll step back, bending the front knee over the front ankle, the back heel, pressing onto the earth. We're pressing to the outer edge of that back foot so that the toes may be off to the ankle. Inhaling, reaching hands overhead, sparking energy through our fingertips toward the sky. Let's find our cactus arms, opening up here, and then reach it back toward the sky. Remember, we can always have hands at heart center or hands on thighs if that's more comfortable for us. Good, last one. Inhale, reach it up. Exhaling, holding here. Radiate that heart center forward, being light and energy out through the heart center. Let's interlace those hands behind the back as an option. We don't have to hold the fingers if that's too much. We can just imagine holding a beach ball if that's better for our shoulders. Into humble warrior, we lean forward. We can always have hands on thighs or hands on a block if we'd like, gazing at the earth. In our humble warrior, this is a beautiful place to focus on gratitude for something in our lives that brings us joy, that we are grateful for. Relaxing through the jaw, around the eyes, around the face. Let's inhale, take the hands back overhead, opening to warrior two. So we're opening up here. Shoulders relax. Now, if we're feeling any neck or shoulder tension, let's rotate and do palms up. Let's find a little play and a little dance here, forward and back through the torso. Nice little stretch. We might feel it alongside one side of the torso or down into the leg. Invite an Ujjayi breath. That's just a whisper breath, kind of closing off the back of the throat as we hold here in our warrior two, so that we hear the breath just to ourselves. We also call this the ocean breath. We can think of that beautiful ocean and that gentle rolling in of waves onto the shore. Reverse warrior here. Now, if we start to feel the legs working for us, let's find some gratitude for our legs for holding us up today. And side angle. Because gratitude isn't just about all the easy and joyous things in our life. Sometimes there's good benefits from some of the challenging things. Without collapsing into that front shoulder, let's go ahead and reverse warrior. Uncartwheel the hands, let's frame that front foot. We'll step it back for downward facing dog, holding here. In our downward facing dog, we have the option to stay here, go into a nice easy break of child's pose, or find a quick flow. If we'd like, we can inhale forward to our plank of choice, kneeling or lifted, exhaling lower, upward facing dog or cobra, and then use that core wherever we're at. We're all meeting in downward facing dog. As we gaze at those thumbs, we'll just slowly walk it forward to a forward fold. Take our time. An inhale, reverse that swan dive, lifting toward the sky. Mountain, exhaling, hands by our sides. A pause, a moment, a reflection. And as we're ready, finding our warrior one with the left leg going back. So as we step back with our left leg, front knee works toward over front ankle. It doesn't have to, but we're working toward, just not past it at the moment. And settling into those legs. Warrior one, the hips, the shoulders, we're trying to work toward the same direction as the front toes. Inhaling, reaching hands overhead. Softening through those arms, even though we're sparking energy through the fingertips toward the sky. Let's give ourselves a moment, a thought here. We are the strong warriors surveying the field of life each and every day. Cactus flow, elbows out by our sides. Maybe they squeeze back a little, let the chest be forward. Inhale, coming overhead. Doing that a few times with our own breath. We move and we breathe. Here we'll find that opportunity for chest expansion. We can reach those hands back, holding an imaginary beach ball, or even interlacing those arms and lifting. Humble warrior, so we take the chest down toward that thigh. Remember, there's options to take hands to the thighs or to blocks or to the earth also. Being even across the front ball of the foot and gazing at those toes. What thoughts come into mind here? We open our hearts to all situations, to all beings. With this heart opener in our humble warrior. As we release those hands, we slowly inhale, come back up to our warrior one, opening to warrior two. So our hips are now shifting to the longer edge of the mat. A nice, beautiful inhale here as we settle into those legs. Feeling that energy down through the legs to ground, and then up through the torso to rise that energy up toward the sky. Hands can turn palms up if we're needing some relief through the neck and shoulders. So many people that I work with, I know it's tight through the neck and shoulders, being on the computer, working on our tablets, our laptops. Reverse warrior. Reaching toward the sky. Try to find that opening, that length here without closing up the back body too much. Hand can be resting, supporting. You can gaze up to the hand or gaze forward. Notice how it feels different in our neck. And side angle, front elbow and thigh. Those legs feel some work this morning. Say thank you, legs, for holding us up. Oftentimes we don't even realize how much the body does for us in each and every moment. The simple action of remembering the breath, gratitude for that breath, the inhalation and the exhalation, the cool air across the nostrils on the inhalation, the warmer, slightly warmer air on the exhalation. Reverse warrior. And let's cartwheel the hands. Frame that front foot into downward facing dog. Option to stay here, child's pose, or take a flow. That flow is just our vinyasa. We can inhale forward to a kneeling or full plank. Exhale to our lower, finding our upward facing dog or cobra. And then as we release, downward facing dog, as we all join together in downward facing dog. Just give ourselves a moment or a pause here of reflection. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace to today, and creates a vision of tomorrow. It's a beautiful quote by Melody Beattie. I'll read that again. Gratitude makes the sense of our past, brings peace to today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. As we slowly walk our feet forward to a forward fold, bending those knees to what's comfortable, outer glutes engaged to support those hamstrings as we reverse the swan dive. Inhale, lifting up toward the sky. Exhaling, hands to heart center. We're going to be going into Malasana, or just our wide squat. So it's a standing squat here. So we open up. You can stay in any direction on your mat, but kind of pointing the toes out to the corners, if you will, of the room. As we settle down here, we can close our eyes or finding a focal point here as we settle. Imagining those thighs squeezing toward each other and an elevator lift through the torso. That creates that Mula Bandha, the pelvic floor lifting, an Uddiyana Bandha, a gentle in and up of the belly button, the navel area, but still having the breath go through the entire torso. Another breath or two here. And then as we're ready, we can slowly press and rise out of those legs. We're turning our toes toward the same direction as our hips and our shoulders so that we're here in a wide straddle. Hinging from our hips, we lengthen and lower forward. We can have hands on a block or bolster or on the earth. A simple, gentle twist, right hand toward the sky. In yoga, we often talk about contentment, otherwise known as santosha. Santosha can translate into typically contentment, which also means gratitude. Contentment and gratitude are closely aligned. We allow our focus on enough in this present moment. When we seek happiness from the external world, relying on the next cup of coffee or the sunny day, our happiness becomes conditional and unreliable. Slowly releasing. Let's find that twist on the other side. So we take time to enjoy what is here, what is in the moment. Maybe we have people in our lives that bring us happiness and joy. Or maybe we just find contentment in their talents and their abilities. Each are so unique. Slowly taking both hands back to the earth. We can stay here with our wrists underneath our shoulders or walking our hands through our legs if we'd like. Just finding that stretch through those legs, pressing into the outer edges of those feet like we're stretching the mat apart, if you will. And slowly returning the hands underneath the shoulders, bending those knees, inhaling, rising toward the sky. And exhaling, hands to heart center as we step together. Now we'll find an option for a balance. So if you'd like, we can usually go by the wall. That's nice. We're going to go into pigeon today. So standing pigeon pose, Kapotasana. We can cross one ankle across the thigh, just past with the foot past, toes toward the shin, hands at heart center as we sit down into our standing pigeon pose. It's like a one-legged chair, if you will. We can always use the wall, which is nice. It actually deepens the pose a little bit if we'd like. It feels like, oh, maybe that's an easier version, and it's not worried about if it's easier or harder. It's about changing. So if we haven't tried it with our hands on the wall, we can do that here. As we press back, we'll feel a nice stretch through that hip and an opening. So whether we're on the wall or off the wall, or using the wall for assistance, whatever it is, without judgments, without expectations, gratitude for what the body can do for us today. And then taking our time to release. We'll switch to the other side. So we can lift the other leg, cross it over. We can always hold on to the wall this way. We're in our own space. We get to do what we like. Slowly sitting down. And if we haven't tried the hands on the wall, or you can even try here. It's like a wall sit. Well, we do get support, but it actually can get ourselves deeper in a different option. So lots of good things when it comes into pigeon. We can try different options. Maybe if we haven't tried it on the wall with our back and we notice the back of the head, the shoulders, the hips, we're like, wow, that's length through the spine. And we don't realize that we're in a head forward position so much. So we can kind of retrain our positioning for our better posture. Last breath here or so. And then slowly releasing, coming on up. Nice working. And side lateral flexion, we'll find our feet hip-width distance apart, or we can take them a little closer if that's comfortable. One hand reaches toward the sky, the other one goes onto our hip. We can slowly rainbow over. So either straight toward the sky and then pushing the hips out to one side, or over. We can gaze at the earth. Maybe we bring something into our mind's eye that we were grateful for in nature. Just looking at the earth can remind us of something beautiful outside, or maybe we have the windows open and we can see something beautiful outside. Appreciating whatever temperature it is. whatever the weather will be like for today. And slowly releasing. Take our time, recalibrate, and then switching toward the other side. So we can keep it up toward the sky. If we feel that lengthening happening, we could take it over without rolling forward. So we're trying not to close. We're trying to keep an open, lengthened body. When we take a time to slow down, we get to tune in to all the things that maybe we take for granted in our fast-paced lives. In an ordinary life, we hardly realize that we receive a great deal more than we give. It is only with gratitude that life becomes rich. Slowly releasing, taking our time. Let the body recalibrate on both sides. We're working to find union in yoga. It just means uniting the right and left side of the body, the right and left side of the mind, or our small self to the big self, the self within ourselves, or connecting us to the higher self. So let's find our way back to the top of our mat. We'll inhale, reach it up overhead. Exhaling, forward folding. Hinging from our hips. Let's find a monkey. So it's a half lift. So our hands to our shins or our hands to our block so that we can find our torso parallel to the earth. We can bend the knees or lengthen, whatever feels best to us. Supreme joy is attained through the practice of gratitude. This is one of the Yoga Sutras. It's actually Yoga Sutra 224. 242. Slowly releasing, forward fold. We're going to find gorilla. So that's an option where we're actually going to lift one foot, take the hand underneath so that the toes are at the wrist. Then we'll do the same on the other side. So we can bend the knees as much as we'd like. Now we can just stay with the monkey pose or the forward fold, or we can find gorilla with our hands underneath, palms face up, back of hands on the earth, and fingers toward those toes. We can kind of massage our hands with our toes, wiggling them back and forth a little. We can find a little length through the spine like we did in monkey, and that stretches those forearms a little, or can feel a nice stretch through our back without adding too much pressure to our hands. Just a little compression, a little gentle compression. Compression's good for us because it actually squeezes out some of the old to allow for the new oxygenated blood to return into that area. It helps to detoxify the body. When we do our twists and compressions, slowly release those hands. And then let's step it back for downward facing dog. This is our last down dog of our practice today. So here in our down dog, we can always choose to come into child's pose, but if we're staying in down dog, while we are pressing into the four corners with palms, let's actually kind of activate the outer edges of those hands. And as we press wide, imagine pressing a towel apart if you were with your, and here we might notice that it sparks the work of the outer arms all the way up. Last breath here or so. And then we'll find our way relaxing into child's pose. So coming to those shins, sinking back, hands can be underneath our forehead, a block can be underneath our forehead, shoulders relax. Let's find a gentle sway of the torso here, side to side. We can find a gentle rock of our head side to side, what feels good to us here. A nice big inhale and an exhale, surrendering. Thinking of friends and family that we are grateful for, and any small role they play in our life. Then broadening that thought to gratitude for the people that we don't always think about, the people that might supply our food, the people that help others in service industries,
And then broadening this to distant strangers, or maybe even finding gratitude for people that don't always jive with our thoughts or that we get along with necessarily. Because it's wonderful to have different perspectives. Nice last big exhale here. As we slowly help ourselves up, we'll find a seated butterfly pose. So we'll take those legs out in front of us, just sliding to one hip. We take the soles of the feet together, sitting up nice and tall. Inhale, lengthening, exhaling, forward folding here. A nice hinge forward. To what's comfortable, we can always have our hands by our hips and then leaning forward if that feels good. Or taking the hands forward with the hands around the ankles. We can take our elbows into our thighs and gently pressing to be comfortable here. We can take the feet further out or closer depending on what we need. And then closing those eyes, let the head relax. It's not about rounding down to be the deepest that we can be. It's about finding the stretch where we need it, into our hips, the inner thighs. Where do we need it for today? In honor of World Kindness Day, let's treat ourselves with kindness and care and respect and give ourselves the gratitude and see how we feel. We can love ourselves the way we want others to love us. Or we can think of that golden rule that says we do unto others as we'd like to have done to us. But what if we actually reverse that and treat ourselves the way that we would want others to treat us? Kindness starts with ourselves. Notice how we sank into this posture over time, released, and then slowly start to come back up, closing those knees. We'll find our way to our boat pose. So hands behind those knees, sitting back. Shoulders relax. Lengthen, core engage so that we're not rounding through the back. Lift the chest. We could stay here. We could start to float those feet. We could stay here. We could take those hands out. We could even extend one leg. Or we could switch, extend the other leg, or we could extend both legs. How do we bring health into our mind and our body? We take care of one, and we can take care of the other. Bending those knees. Nice work. Reverse or incline plank, hands by our hips, toes are pointed forward. So our fingers are pointing toward our hips or to the side. And then we can slowly lift. A little opening through the chest. Now this may be challenging for the legs or the shoulders. It won't be here long, slowly release. So we can do this one again, or we could try a different option. It's a deeper stretch for the shoulders, but a little easier for the legs. So it's just options. Reverse tabletop. We bend those knees and then starting to lift here. Just floating those hips as high as we can for today. How does that feel? Chin toward chest, or we can let the head be so that we can gaze toward the sky, but not letting it drop back necessarily. And slowly releasing. Nice work. We're going to find our way to the earth. So as we scooch forward on our mats, we can kind of slowly tuck and roll down, hands behind those knees to help ourselves protect that lower back, and then let the knees gently sway. If we need a jacket, if it's cool, or just a blanket, feel free to grab that, or socks for our feet. Reclining twist, we'll take the legs over to one side, and then just trying to keep our shoulders on the earth, gazing toward one direction, away from those knees. A nice gentle breath here. So inhale, belly expands, chest lifts, the whole torso expands as one cylinder out, forward, into the front of the body, back into the back of the body. Relaxing the gaze, relaxing through the eyes or on the forehead.
Remembering that deep diaphragmatic belly breath, slowly drawing the knees back toward the sky and over to the other side. So find a way to get transition comfortably, and then just gazing the opposite direction, a gentle twist here. Nice big inhale and exhale. We can start to invite in thoughts about how could we express some kindness today and tomorrow in honor of World Kindness Day, to ourselves, to others. Perhaps sending out just a nice text to somebody that you haven't talked to in a while, or telling somebody what you appreciate about them. It's amazing what kind of ripple effect it has. Even if they don't reply, that's okay. Just know that there's good energy being sent out. And we're doing it without need of a return compliment or anything. We let go of judgment and expectations and see how that ripple effect happens. It may pay it forward, or just might brighten their day. It usually comes back to us in one way or another, not even from that same person, perhaps. Slowly releasing on an exhalation, we'll bring the knees back toward the sky. Ananda Balasana, this is happy baby. We take the soles of the feet to the sky. We can hold the outside of those feet if we'd like, around the ankles or behind the thighs, lots of options. So just relaxing the head, the shoulders, the entire back if possible. I know, sometimes it's easier said than done. I'm trying to bring the tailbone toward the earth. Here we can start to extend and play with one leg. We shift and lengthen one leg. The other knee might be able to come in toward us a little bit more. We talked about what compression does for us. This is a big compression for the front of the hips. When we sit throughout the day or we get tightness in the front of the hips, it's nice to have a little compression here to help release and detoxify. This is a great pose for digestion. We'll switch to the other side. So bending the opposite knee, lengthening the other leg to what feels comfortable. Breathe into the back here. So not only just into the belly, but also into the back. We might feel some expansion into that lower back, compression. We'll use all of the muscles within the breath. That actually will help relax different areas of the body when we breathe deep through the whole cylinder, the whole torso. Sometimes we just breathe into that upper chest or just into the belly, and we forget about the lower back, that upper back, all the way up through the entire torso. Slowly coming back to both knees bent. We'll do a quick bridge. So take the feet to the earth and then rising those hips up into a bridge. We could stay here. We could put a block underneath our hips if we'd like for a restorative bridge. Or we could even take our hands behind our back, interlace, one shoulder under and then the other as we lift the chest toward the sky, even through those feet. Wiggle those toes. And then we can press evenly through all the toes, activating the inner thighs so that the knees are in alignment with those hips. Nice big inhalation and exhalation. Gazing skyward and not trying to look around. We can close those eyes if we'd like. A few more breaths here. If we'd like, we can lift one leg to the sky to add a little more. Some ankle circles at the top of that foot. Circling the other direction. Switching legs if we'd like. The other leg goes toward the sky. Some ankle circles here. Circling the opposite direction. Both feet to the earth, lifting those hips a little more perhaps. Notice if one hip is rising a little more than the other, evening it out of our peripheral vision. And then as we're ready, slowly releasing. If we were in restorative bridge, we lift our hips, remove the block, bringing the knees into the chest, a little apanasana, knees to chest, a little sway here. And let's take these moments here to make our way into Shavasana. So extending one leg and the other. If you'd like a blanket or a jacket, feel free to grab it here.
we're just going to set up for a little bit of time in relaxation. So if you'd like something over your eyes, feel free. If you'd like a blanket over the toes, we won't be here too long, but just enough to let all of the good work we did today cement into the body. We open our feet a little wider than our hips. Now, if we're taking care of our lower back, we have a gentle lower back, we can always bend our knees. In constructive rest pose, take the knees together and feet out toward the outer edges. Palms toward the sky if that's comfortable. More importantly, just focusing on our shoulder blades relaxing onto the earth. We could tuck them in underneath us just a little bit. And then gently tuck the chin toward the earth. So we elongate the neck muscles and then relax. So however feels best here. You could even do legs up the wall. Staying here for a few moments. Just be guiding us through a few thoughts about gratitude here. So take a nice big inhale, belly rises toward the sky. Exhale, belly releases toward the earth. Inhaling, belly rises toward the sky. Feel the breath go into the toes, into the fingers, to every space in between, connecting all of it. Feel the expanse of the entire body. And exhaling, letting the body relax deeper into the earth. Let go of any tension, any muscle work. Isn't it amazing how there's a few muscles that like to still work? We don't even realize it, maybe in the jaw, maybe in the neck, or maybe in the hips that we're trying to keep the toes to the sky. And as we really relax, the toes fall out toward the side. Holding here in Shavasana, relaxing. We are like springs. We can feel ourselves replenishing and renewing, returning to ourselves. With a spring, it refills naturally from within, as opposed to being a tide pool. A tide pool waits for the ocean to fill it. For the love, the caring, the compliments from others to fill ourselves up. And if we're a tide pool and we give to others day in and day out, we're always needing others to refill that, and we can go empty and dry. But if we're a spring, we naturally replenish and refill, and we can give the overflow to others. In the Yoga Sutras, we talk about, or it talks about, how if we have a negative thought, we can ask ourselves if it's really true. Is it 100% really true? Realizing that it's 100% not true all the time. We can start to think of the opposite and meditating on the opposite to change our mood, to change our thoughts. In Patanjali's Yoga Sutras 242, contentment and gratitude are closely aligned. It's about having enough in this present moment. When we seek happiness from the external world, relying on the next cup of coffee or sunny day, or somebody needing to do something, otherwise we're not happy, that makes our happiness become conditional and unreliable. The actual sutra says, supreme joy is attained through the practice of gratitude. So taking this time to practice gratitude, we can slowly start to bring our knees into our chest to reawaken and animate the body. Maybe we reflect back to our practice, finding gratitude for some moment within our space this morning. What would we like to carry with us the rest of the day? Just one thought. Something that brings us santosha, gratitude or peace or joy. And then we can roll to our sides. Take a breath here. We can take our hand to support our head if we'd like. And then slowly making our way up, pressing into those hands. An easy seated pose, Sukhasana. Easy is supposed to be joyous also. When we think of the easy and being present and being grateful for what we have in the present. Let's find our hands at heart center, Anjali Mudra. Taking our chin toward our chest. The fingers pointing up to ourselves. Not just this external self, a small s, but the internal self. The place that is untouched. A connecting to that space within, to who we truly are. It's with a deep sense of gratitude. I thank you so much for joining me in practice today. Have a beautiful day, a beautiful weekend. Namaste.